Hey, this is Ed over at Team Aquascape. I am in Mahomet, Illinois. We are working with the architecture firm and also the Parks District to renovate this beautiful pond over here. So this is a beautiful botanical garden, and we are doing a little bit more than a quarter of an acre pond here. Ready on three. 1, 2, 3, pull it. It's some air under it. There you go. It's hard to get it all in on the camera, actually. So much stuff happening here. This renovation project started a few weeks ago. There was hundreds and hundreds of cubic yards of sediment, sludge, and stuff that is built up in the bottom of this over many, many decades. All that material was pulled out. Now we're coming in with some good clean clay to build up the levels to the appropriate elevation. We don't want a big giant pit. What we're going to do is come in here with a polypropylene liner. We're going to line everything. Then we're going to cover all of this up with natural stone. It'll be a mixture of granite cobblestone as well as moss rock. Our intake bay is going to be over in this section. That's going to house our submersible pumps. That's going to keep this area free of debris. So this pond failed over the years because of leaf debris. And look at all the trees. We are in a public park area. So it failed because of leaf matter building up in the bottom, decomposing, causing water quality issues. The new intake bay is going to sweep the surface of this clean. It's basically a big skimmer system. All the leaves will go into one catch area. Right over in here, we're gonna have a big wetland filter edge that's gonna push water out, and that's also gonna be the biological filter, which is gonna keep this pond clean. That far end is gonna get a series of jets that's gonna push debris over towards our intake bay. And then over on this slope over here, we're gonna have a beautiful cascading waterfall. So we're right now scheduled to come in to start work, to put in our liner and start doing all the plumbing, intake bay, filters, etc. We are working side by side with the park department. They are going to be installing a lot of the stonework, but this is just going to be a spectacular feature. So that's an existing bridge they pulled out with a crane, and that's going to get reinstalled back over here. And that is a spot of many, many wedding pictures. So this is going to just be a beautiful addition, or renovation project, I should say, to this beautiful county park. So this is a beautiful botanical garden, and we are doing a little bit more than a quarter of an acre pond here. Let me show you what we have going on here this morning. All right, so here's our wetland filter. This is 50 feet long, 8 feet wide. We're gonna cut a trench right down the middle of all this, and this is gonna get these things right here. This is called our centipede system. This is a water distribution setup. So we have water coming in at the one end over here, comes out of these slots, but this is specifically designed to allow a set amount of water out of each one of these. We have a little bit of a sedimentation chamber down below. And on top of this, we're gonna get some aqua blocks. That's gonna create a void space above everything, and that's gonna allow more sedimentation to occur, and it also allows the water to be spread out nice and evenly. Over here we have our snorkels. This is gonna be our pump clean out area. Our focus here today is to finish this wetland excavation. He's cleaning up that edge, making a nice sharp edge for us. We still have our access ramp over on this side, and that is for a small dump truck that's coming in, and that's just to get any of the extra soil out of here throughout the construction process. Tim and Dakota, they are building some aqua blocks over in the shop, basically about 100 yards that way. All right, so here's Tim and Dakota making the large aqua blocks. This is a double stack. This is going to be used for our intake bay. So this will act as a pre-filter. So on top of this, we're going to use some bigger river stone. It's going to filter out any of the big stuff that's coming into the pond. Nice thing about these, they are modular, so you can see they come in individual panels. We have 4 of these little panels in between, and then we put these larger ones on top, and they just get snapped into position. This is the large river rock that's going to go on top of the aqua blocks. You can see by the size of this stuff, this is like a 5-inch So this is a 3 to 5 mixture, which is perfect for going on top of the aqua blocks. Doesn't fall through those holes, and it has a high void space. Now if you just look at these joints, you have big areas to allow water to pass through. The main goal of all of this large river stone is to pre-filter stuff out to protect our pumps. The nice thing about the pumps that we have is that they can handle solid material, but we want to try to keep it as clean as possible because that helps with the overall biological filtration. That is our liner. So it says it's marked right on the side, 3,992, and that is pounds. This is a 2-ton liner. So the width is 120 feet by 205. And this comes in a big accordion fold is what it's called. So that means we have to unfold it in a very specific manner. Here's some of the 3-inch pipe that we have, which is basically for the wetlands and for the jets. The main piping for this project is 4-inch and 6-inch schedule 80 PVC. So this is our rock pad material. So it's a very heavy, thick material, and this is gonna create a nice bedding material for that liner to sit on. This will also be used on top of the liner underneath all of our big boulders. Hey, this is Ed over at Team Aquascape, and it is day 2 on the Mahomet Park District project, and we're making great progress. We got a lot of things happening over here. We're getting all of our edges done down on the very, very bottom. Justin right now has got the backhoe over in our pump intake area. You can see that green pipe right behind me. That's gonna be the overflow. So we have to make sure that we're handling any excess water on this project. Let me take you on a quick walkthrough on what we've done today. Overflow right here. We're gonna do our pump intake. That pump intake is gonna have a concrete vault that's gonna sit down in this corner, and that's gonna house 2 massive Surumi submersible pumps. All those aqua blocks right there, we have 46 aqua blocks. Those are gonna go down inside over on that area, and that's gonna create our skimmer area. So this is making basically a custom skimmer system. Our wetland is looking great. So we got Mike, we got Ed over here. We carved in some of these little ledges just to make a little bit easier transition down into the water. Now let me show you what we have here. Our water level is about 6 inches above this ledge. So all of this will be a shallow, marshy area. That's gonna just be loaded with different types of aquatic vegetation. We've also been running around with the plate compactor to compact all of this stuff and level everything out. We got everything prepped down below. We got a little bit of cleanup duty to still do tomorrow before we get our liner in place. The other thing that I want to add is a couple lily pockets, actually probably 5 of them I should say. These are going to be massive. So what we're going to do is we're going to dig out some shallow depressions down in the bottom. The liner will then conform to those depressions, and then we're going to come in with a beautiful topsoil mix. On top of that, we're going to cover it up with the river rock. That'll create a good planting medium for our aquatic plants. Now again, look around this place. This is all a beautiful botanical garden. So what we want to do here is we want to plant this thing up. This is going to be a spectacular water garden, which is going to be a great addition to this beautiful facility. We want to make sure water quality is great. We want to make sure that everything is going to be good to go for decades here. And part of that is going to be having the right plant material. So here's our pump pit. This is going to get our large submersible pumps are going to be located in a concrete vault, which is going to be in this third of the bottom of the excavation. This little section right up here, we're going to place a layer of small aqua blocks. It's going to create a sump area down in the bottom to allow enough water for that pump to operate. This area over here, that's going to get loaded up with all of our aqua blocks. The water for the pond is actually 16 inches above this ledge. So right up in here, that's going to create a skimming action. So all that water is going to get sucked into this area here. We're discharging 100,000 gallons of water per hour. So 100,000 GPH is going to be flowing into this area. So here's our sand that's coming in. That's going to help us level everything out and to create a bedding material for that concrete vault, which weighs many, many tons. We are digging out several pockets in certain key areas. These are going to be for decorative water lilies. Over here, our intake bay is completed. We have our heavy duty fabric in there. We got to get one more piece over here. Wetland is done. So we have to pull that liner way over there, all out into this area. Everything's falling into place. Good weather. Hopefully we will have a liner in here shortly. All right, good time of the day. Fabric is going in. We got all this section done. So this is a very thick, heavy-duty material. It's great for use on commercial projects, large-scale projects where we have large boulders and we have possible people going in and out of the pond, etc. So we want to make sure everything is padded up really, really well. We got the rest of the team from the Parks Department out with us, so we got to get that big liner pulled in here next. All right. It's a good time of the day pulling out the liner. Thankfully, we have a lot of help. We got to unroll this liner, 205 feet long, weighs 2 tons. We have all the other help. Once we get this pulled out, we're going to pull that liner all the way across this entire excavation. Over a ½ acre of liner. Ready on 3. 1, 2, 3, pull it. Some air under it. There you go. That's the way you do it. Inch by inch. All right, liner is finally in. We pulled all these little edges down. What we would want to make sure is we don't have any tight areas with the liner. So what we're going to do is cover some of this stuff up with fabric. We're going to come in here with large boulders, get that middle section taken care of, and then we'll work our way all the way up and out. Our wetland filter is located in this section. You can see the guys down here inside. They are connecting up the snorkel and centipedes. This is our clean out right here. So these are getting snapped into place, going all the way down, and then there's going to be another clean out on that far other end. You're also starting to get some of those aqua blocks in position. So what those are going to do is we're going to have water coming into this distribution pipe here, and it's going to let out a certain volume of water. It's going to go into these aqua blocks, and that acts as a sedimentation trap. From there, the water also spreads out nice and evenly along the entire bottom of that filter. From there, we're going to have several layers of river stone on top of that. You can see all this stuff is nice and level with these edges, which is key. But we want to make sure that nothing moves structurally. So putting all that rock in between is going to lock everything in place, but it also allows water to flow through all of that stuff. So this will all be planted with aquatic vegetation. All that water is going to fill this up. It's going to flow that way over to our pumps. The wetland is done. We have some whips coming out here for our 3-inch pipe. We have all of our aqua blocks in place. Now what we're doing is we're coming in with our 3 to 5 inch large river rock. So this machine, nice and versatile, we'll be able to lay it right down on top. We want to do it pretty gently at first until we get a certain level. Once we start getting that nice layer in place, then we can just start dumping. So the reason we're going nice and slow is those blocks are polypropylene. If you dump it too quickly, it'll start moving everything all over the place. So that's perfect, exactly how he's doing it right there. So now what we're gonna do is kind of spread it out a little bit, and then he can really start moving. So here's our plumbing connections. We're gonna have a 4-inch pipe that's gonna come this way. It's gonna connect into these 2 3-inch, and then we're gonna have a third 3-inch that's gonna continue going that way to create our underwater jets. We're gonna come up with a layer about 12 inches deep. Then we'll come over the top of that with the second layer, which is 1 inch to 1.5 inches. Just completed an anchor trench, a simple way to lock the liner and everything into place. So what we have is we dug out a trench approximately 12 inches deep by the width of that mini excavator bucket, which is 18 inches. We take our liner and our fabric and we bury it down. What that's going to do, it's going to anchor everything in position. And the reason I'm doing that at this point, normally I don't like to finish the edges this early in the project, but what we need to do is we have this big long carpet of heavy fabric that's going out on top of our polypropylene liner. We're gonna make a roadway going all the way down into the bottom. So this will allow us access so we can move materials. We'll be able to deliver gravel, rock to all different areas of the pond. So we're gonna do this roadway next. The guys are over on this side. They're wrapping up our wetland. We'll be able to start dropping everything into place, getting in the next layers. But we wanna focus on this stuff here next. So I wanna get this roadway done. Pump vault just arrived. It's a 2-section installation here. So we have a bottom, then we have a cap piece. What we're going to do is we're going to offload them over here into these trailers. We have to modify them a little bit. We're going to cut out some slots down here on the bottom. This is going to allow water to get into that tank. Right now it's just a solid box. So we're going to have our big submersible pumps sitting inside of those aquablocks on the front. So all the water is going to go through the aquablocks down and then inside of the tank into our pump. We just created this big giant road system going all the way up to the very top of the pond with a ramp going out. We put down some of this heavy duty fabric. We went over the top of it of different grades of gravel. So we have some of this 3 to 5 inch type stuff, this 3/4, 1 inch material. What that does is you have the big aggregate and then the smaller pieces get wedged inside of there, and it really locks everything in place, especially with some of that clay and everything in there. So right now, here comes Nick. We have our small excavator coming in because the boulders we're putting down here are not going to be that large. Again, we're going to be cost effective. This is just going to be granite stone, very good stone to use. It's inert. It's not going to change anything with water quality or pH. So what we're going to do is set that machine on this pad right here, and then we're going to be shuffling down many, many tons of the cobblestones while we start setting along this edge. Once the stonework is all done, all the way around the perimeter, pull the plywood off, and then we just spread that gravel out along the bottom. So we're killing 2 birds with 1 stone here. There's one of our little lily pockets over in here. So all stonework all through this stuff. There's our big waterfall. There's John. There's Mike up on top. Wetland is going in place. We are washing the gravel as we're installing it in lifts. So just gonna help clean everything out right here in the beginning. You can see our snorkel vault here. We have to still do an extension on that, so we have to come up 2 more feet. First rock. Always have to get a picture of the first rock going in. It's only a small piece of granite, but still, it's the start that we've been waiting for. We've done all this prep work, all the liner, everything for this moment. Now we're gonna start dropping in boulders, work our way around the perimeter. We're strapping rocks over here, dropping those into position. Ed is over on this side, just taking some of that smaller stuff and just kind of jamming them in those little wedges and everything to lock it all together, to really hold it, keeps it nice and tight. So what we're trying to do is create a series of layers in here, just kind of have that random look. And then afterwards we come in with all these different layers of river rock. Locks everything in place, and it allows us to place the next layer of rocks behind it. So we got our Cat 315 over here. This, hopefully, is gonna lift that. It's a massive oak tree that came down in a storm. 3.5 foot or so, just huge. So what we want to try to do is set this inside of that decorative water garden. Once we get this stuff in place, this is oak. This stuff is going to last decades. And we'll have water on one side of it, and the other side we'll have our rubber liner. We'll have a little pocket of river stone. We can get some aquatic plantings and stuff like that growing over it. Really, really make a naturalistic look. And that's because we're in a forested area. So now we just have to get this stuff strapped, moved over to there. So we got some fun that's going to be happening here. Getting the pumps ready. This is a Surumi solids handling pump. These are awesome pumps. Been using them for 20 years. These things are bomb proof. Great for our application. They produce a lot of water. This is gonna be for our wetland pump, and it's gonna give us 500 or so gallons a minute. So this is a 5 horsepower. The other one over there is a 10 horsepower pump. That's gonna give us over 800 gallons a minute, and that is gonna feed our waterfall. There's our impeller. And look at the size of that thing. Put your whole fist inside it. We've been waiting for, dropping in this big old log. Beautiful piece of oak. Came down in a storm from those woods, 100 or so yards that way. So now we're bringing it in. We are gonna set it right here in the inside edge of this pond. We have our reinforced polypropylene liners. We have multiple layers of our heavy duty fabric. The log is in. We got some big chunks of rock over in here to stabilize everything. We're coming in with another big stone to go right here in between. And that log that's behind the machine is going to kind of come at an angle this way and get wedged in between that big rock. So the idea is the tree fell down, hit that big rock, snapped. We're going to do some plantings and stuff around that joint because it is a nice clean joint and we want it to look a little bit more natural. So we'll have a little bit of work to do with that, but overall, coming together. Pump belt's coming in. So this is a 1,500-gallon septic tank. We've modified it a little bit. We cut this opening here. It is 6 feet wide, approximately a foot tall. That's going to allow all of our water into the bottom. It's going to line up with those aqua blocks right over in here. So that goes in, and there's another piece that goes on top of it. So here's the opening for our water to enter back into our concrete vault. So this is like a little sump area. So the reason we have that is there's a minimum submergence level on the pumps themselves. So we want to make sure that we have access to all of this water. So that's why we have this cut in here. We're allowing in enough water to come in without causing any problems with too much turbulence. So we want a nice even flow going in. So now these big aqua blocks are going to go across the top. We're putting in these small aqua blocks, and then that joint, you can see right there, we're going to fill that back up with river stone to level everything off to this elevation, so it's nice and flat. Aqua blocks are going in, everything's leveled. You can see that little bit of a joint left. We put that river stone around it to get everything level. Now we're going to come in front with our aqua blocks going all the way across. On top of this, we're going to come in with a 3 to 5 inch river stone. That's going to act as our pre-filter. We took our time laying everything out. So you can see the elevation of the top of these blocks in relationship to this. This is going to be a little bit deeper. So the water actually speeds up and then it kind of pools up a little bit and it allows the material to kind of swirl around so you could clean it out easily. On top of this, we're not going to have gravel, some flagstone. So it's going to be really nice and smooth, and what we can do with that is we can have it nice and even. That'll allow for a very consistent flow of water coming in. Our next steps here over at the intake bay. You can see our elevation is set right there, about 4 to 6 inches above our aqua blocks. We over excavated some of these areas, and the reason we did that makes it easier for the installation, gives us lots of room to get in there and work. We don't want to cover the top of these blocks with large boulders. So once we fill this joint over here with river stone, we'll be able to get some big rocks way over here, which are not going to be sitting on top of the blocks. Now the aqua blocks could actually handle that weight, but what we don't want to do is, because this is a large pond, this is our pre-filter. We don't want to block that space up, so we're just shrinking this down to a little 3 foot by 3 foot area. If we did that, they would be out here constantly maintaining this. So we want to give them as much square footage as possible. Now we are going to get ready to have a little bit of fun here, because we're going to start setting some monster boulders over here in our waterfall. So here's our big rock getting dropped in place. That's just a gorgeous rock. We got some of these edge stones over here, nice little low waterfall. Now we're going to go vertical, big guy here. Well, Nick and I are working on this main waterfall over here. We have some of our rocks set over in this section. What we're doing right now is, once we set those rocks, we come in, we pull the liner back, and those rocks are going to tell us this elevation. So what we do, instead of just coming in and carving random shelves, we set the bottom course of stone, pull the liner back, and then we start carving out at the appropriate elevation. We don't know that elevation until these rocks are really set. I know it takes a little bit more work to do it like this, but it actually comes out with a better product. Everything's gonna look a lot tighter. While we're on this side, they're coming in, they're starting to do some of the work over here in the wetland. You can see that they have the 3-inch pipe that has been pulled out. That is a continuation of the main 4-inch pipe that's coming out of our pump vault. The 4-inch pipe is splitting into 3 3-inch. 2 of those are going to go into our wetland. The other one is going to continue this way, and it's going to create a series of jets which are going to push the water in that direction. So we want all this water to come over here under the bridge, combined with our waterfall. All that water is going to go that way around the corner into our custom skimmer system. So that's going to get really nice circulation, which is the key to a healthy aquatic ecosystem. So the next steps are going to be to continue that stonework this way around that edge, and then start doing that top edge. So we always start our stonework on the bottom and we work our way up. So what we do when we're doing design work, a variety of different types of edge treatments. We don't want all stone, we don't want all logs, we don't want all plants, we don't want all rock. We want a mixture of all those different things, which is going to give us that naturalistic look. We are going to take this liner and we're going to fold it back this way behind this log. And then what we'll do is we'll fill this joint in between here and here with regular planting soil. This is going to be dry, so we're going to have the liner on this side, so water's on that side. And here it's really going to blend this log into everything. Tried to set some of these rocks in place for turtles, amphibians, and things like that to crawl up out of the water where they could sun themselves over in this area. And this is going to transition from here into our wetland filtration system. Dropping in another monster log. This is going to go at the base of the waterfall. So what this is going to do is going to create an entire edge on the back side of that waterfall. It's going to direct our water flow over into that corner. So it's got some character to this thing. It's also got a lot of mass, and it will take up a lot of room over on the bottom. So it really creates a neat effect. So nice thing about this, you can see those big ones way over here. We're gonna try to balance it out. So we got big logs on that side, get some over on this side, maybe another couple pieces on that far edge over there. Waterfall's coming together. We got this whole lower section done. Love working with this big, beautiful moss rock. Water going over this notch right here behind this big rock. We have stair step over on this side. All right, so here's a handy little tip. So here's our main pipe coming in, 4-inch pipe, which is delivering the water here. Put some bricks around our snorkel cap, and then that rock is going to bridge across. What that's going to do is going to allow them to mark exactly where that snorkel's at, and then all you have to do is flop that out of the way. Those bricks will keep the gravel from getting in around that snorkel cap. Check it out, we got the waterfall running here in Mahomet Forest Preserve. Everything looks incredible down here. I mean, just check that waterfall out. Here's the main entry, pouring concrete right over in here. But look at this, it's gonna lead everybody right up to that spectacular historic bridge, and then waterfall, it just draws you in. Once this is planted up, we have lily pockets strategically located throughout the pond, gonna be blooming with water lilies. The back corners are going to get marginal aquatic vegetation, but just look at this view. I love this bridge from the day I saw it, and look at that. You're 6-7 feet above water level at this point, so you could get a good view all the way up there on the top. That waterfall 25 foot tall, 1,000 gallons of water every minute is flowing over that, 60,000 gallons per hour, over 100 tons of stone inside of there. They dropped in some more big logs here just to hold everything back, planted up with some nice vegetation on the back side. The history behind these old stone walls is incredible, so we want to try to preserve that. So the idea is melding the old with the new. So this is that little turnaround area for wheelchair access. Just check out that waterfall. Massive cascade dropping down. We have that staircase effect over here in the middle. We got this split right over in here. We have a mixture of different things that are happening. We got this big giant log over on that side. My favorite section, the upper reaches over here. And we got that big giant stump. From here it looks tiny. That thing is over 8 feet tall. I just love when I could see the waterfalls running after I complete a project. Hard to get it all in on the camera. Wow. Almost 60,000 gallons of water coming between that little joint and that. Look how thick that water is. Up on top, we got this big, massive flat stone blasting down. A little ripple effect over here, just a little bit of an overflow. This is the section, the little fast-moving stream where the waterfall discharges. All this fast rippling area, this is going to be home to all different types of microorganisms. So little aquatic insects and things like that are going to live in here just because it recreates the riffle zone and an actual river system. It'll also be planted up with some aquatic vegetation to help soften this. Nothing really big, but it'd be nice to get something over in here in front of that big boulder. Maybe some stuff along the edge of that log as well, just to transition and hide up some of this stuff. But because of the steepness of it, from a design perspective, if you go to the mountains and you find a big steep waterfall, you typically don't have a lot of aquatic vegetation around it. And the reason, very, very simple, during spring heavy rains, the thaws of the snow, these little steep waterfalls are roaring and they will scour out all the aquatic vegetation along their perimeter. So it's usually very harsh and very rocky, exactly what you see here. As it comes downstream, down into the slower areas, this is where you start to see your aquatic vegetation popping up because it's widening out, the water's slowing down. These back areas, those backwater areas are, that's where the vegetation's gonna grow. The really, really fun as well as challenging parts of the project, it was bringing this incredible oak tree over here. So this came in from, what, about 100, 200 yards that way, was dropped down in a storm. When I was talking with Mike and John, they said that they had some logs around, and as soon as I saw that thing, I'm like, we have to have it. But it is heavy. Cat 315D out here, and it pushed that one to the limit, but it looks phenomenal. I love the transitions. I mean, you have all the cannas and stuff back here, so once those things fill up, I mean, that's just a beautiful backdrop over in that section. Creates a completely different edge. And the other thing that's important about this from a water quality standpoint, and again, we did have algae bloom. The pond just filled up, so it's got to cycle itself through here. We want to have different types of habitats and homes for different species of bacteria and enzymes. There are different types of organisms that are associated with wood versus gravel, versus rock, versus sandstone, versus granite. So there's different habitats for each one of those. And as we all know, diversity is key when you talk about a stable, healthy aquatic environment. I want to introduce you to Mike and to John. These are the two masterminds behind the entire project, and we came in to assist, but let's go meet them. So here's John, and here's Mike. What's up, guys?
How you doing?
So this was a fun project. Could you give me a little bit of history on what you had here before what we're looking at right now?
Absolutely. The original pond and waterfall was constructed around 1974. It had put in many years of service and eventually started to show some wear and tear. We had about a 12-foot vertical waterfall that used to be right here where you see the natural flow, and started to see some cracks across the face of that and some blowouts of the structure behind it. Finally time to do something about it.
You know, years of sedimentation, all the tree leaves and everything coming in here decomposing, everything is just piling up in that sand vein. We were losing incredible amounts of water, like almost 4 inches of water a day out of the pond. You know, the old silt that had been in here, we took over 6 million pounds of silt out of here.
Jeez. Unbelievable. So now, once it was all dug out, came in with polypropylene liner to hold water in place, and then how many pounds, you were telling me, of stone going over everything?
1.5 million pounds of stone that we brought in.
Wow. Over here we have the wetland filter. So this is going to be responsible for water quality. Recently filled up with water. We had a little bit of an algae bloom, so hopefully that stuff is dying off. We can see a lot of this foam on the surface of the pond. It's actually being drawn into the intake by on that far side, which is exactly what it's supposed to do. I brought down with me today some bacterial treatments so we could start adding that material into the wetland filter and into the pump area to start seeding this with beneficial bacteria and enzymes, which will help to break down and detoxify the water. I could already see tons of dragonflies flying around, which is a great sign. They're an incredible indicator species, so they cannot live in polluted water systems, so that means we have good healthy water here. They're going to start laying eggs.
They can't wait to be here in the pond, and with all of the new habitat that's been created for frogs, turtles, and snakes, and like you said, dragonflies, it's just going to be a great opportunity for habitat here at the Forest Preserve.
This is a fantastic upgrade for us. The original had served us well for so many years, but
that's awesome.
You know, we couldn't have done it without you, Ed, and couldn't say enough about the help that you guys have given us. And anytime we had a question, you've always been able to help us.
It was an honor for us to be a part of it. We love to work within the community. So, I mean, we're an Illinois company. We want to try to give back. We want to help as much as we can. And I tell you what, it's a home run.
Yeah.
Here's the discharge point for our 6-inch pipe. Kind of tucked it in behind this big massive boulder so you can't see that from the main viewing area. So these little tricks, with that pipe we don't have a backflow preventer on it, so I wanted it going up and over the liner. The other thing is, you see how that's just blasting all that water down? Part of the filtration system. You could also see down in here, you're going to see lots of bubbles and foam on the surface. Algae treatment has been done. The algae's dying off, but now it's starting to oxidize. So adding in lots of dissolved oxygen is critical. All of these waterfalls are an important component of the filtration. Discharging it behind that rock, but then splitting it, having a rock over here so you don't have just a hot spot of water coming out. It actually slows it down, backs up a little bit, and that water rips around all that stuff, creating all that beautiful riffle action. This really cool craggy stone over here, I remember we were setting that a few weeks ago. Just had a beautiful face on it. The action of the water going over that thing is unbelievable. Then we have this stump over in here, creating that nice little clean sheet. Big giant boulders, everything really came together on this project. I am loving it. All of this will be planted up, vegetation. Then this just got running. They're working on walkways, pouring concrete. They got forms over in here, so trying to finish everything up. And this looks like you're walking through the mountains somewhere. And I tell you what, I definitely spend a lot of time out in the mountains in the natural areas around the world. And that's where we get our inspiration from. Well, as much as I would like to stay here and continue doing stuff out here, it's time for me to go, head on home. This has been an incredible project. I hope you've been following along from the very beginning. This has been a 4-part series. Waterfall's going. We'll probably still come back in the future once the rest of the landscaping and the hardscaping and all that stuff is complete, just to get that finished stuff. Once the fish get in here, the aquatic plants, it's going to be insane. So again, it's been a fun project. Hope you'd enjoy it. See you on the next project.